That's actually this part right here, from here down. And from what I've been told, the way that was advertised was, it wasn't a ham big enough to feed a family, but they would sell it and they would cook it similar to a traditional ham, but because it was smaller, it was good enough for a picnic, not big enough to feed a family. I may be wrong, you know, maybe Wikipedia is right, I don't know.
What farm is this pig from?
This is from Lenny and Grundy. They get their pigs from a gentleman named Lefty. I'm not exactly sure the last name of his name of his farm is his name.
Lefty Irish.
Lefty Irish. Thank you.
Yeah.
If anyone was at the Eat Real Festival, Lefty was there. He had his pigs, and you know, he's got beautiful, beautiful pigs. He does a lot of crossbreeding. I'm not sure what he's working on now, but I know he's always working on some different types of pigs. So now I'm going to going right after the rear leg. This is where you get your ham. I'm just making these small incisions, and I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking to just take the ham off. I'm actually wanting to keep intact the whole loin and the sirloin in the back here. There's a bone here called the H bone. It's spelled A-I-T-C-H. The first time I ever had to take one out, I was working in Boston. The guy comes to me, he goes, I want to buy a leg of lamb, but can you take the H bone out? I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, but give me 20 minutes, I guarantee I'll get it done. Go downstairs, look it up on the computer, find a picture of this weird ass bone. I'm like, all right, I'll figure it out. I said, come back in an hour. Go back in an hour. I trussed it up all nice to hide the horrible job that I did. But that bone was out, I guarantee it. So there's actually a little bit of a handle right here that you can get. And this bone is very, very tricky. You kind of have to just kind of seam it out. And you'll see what I'm making right here, I'm separating. Right here is actually the socket. You can see that. Sorry, I told you I'm really good with cameras. You have to follow me. You just want to go ahead and trace that, and wait until you see this bone. I mean, it's got all different kinds of shapes to it. I'm sure everyone's got an iPhone or something. If you look it up, you'll see the weirdest shape. It's not like anything else structured in the body whatsoever.
When they say ham, it's always the back leg.
Traditionally, a ham is the back leg, but there's a definition to ham. Ham is usually something that's brined and possibly smoked. So, I mean, it's really important that, you know, when you're asking for a ham, that you know that if you're asking for a fresh ham, then you get this.
So is this where the hock is for the where you make soup?
The hock is this portion right here.
Okay.
It's right here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts. You smoke those. It's good stuff.
So the hock is the joint, I guess.
I would call it pretty much like our shin. I mean, you know, as far as anatomy goes, it would be similar to our shin. So, see how I had to trace all the way up and around this? Does anyone make their own hams? Anyone ever tried to make their own hams? Nope. You guys will this year. It's actually a lot easier than you think, making your own ham. So this, I'm going to break this down as well. So this is the ham, the rear leg. You'll see prosciutto come from this. You know, what's great about this type of meat, this particular piece, is that it's got a great lean attributes to it, but it also has a good amount of fat around the exterior of it, so it really protects it when you cure something like prosciutto. And also, what's great about it, obviously, when you have ham, you know, you get a nice ring of fat, which is always great, but then it's also very lean, very clean. And you'll also see ham cross-cut, because all these muscles in here are really, really tough. Because, I mean, it's the rear leg. Any piece of the animal that is being used extensively, it's going to be tough. That's why you see stuff like shanks and tongue braised for a long period of time. You know, cheeks, they're all braised. The tenderloin doesn't do anything except for help the animal excrete. I mean, that's really all it does. So it works once a day, twice a day. That's pretty much it. You know? So next, we're going to take off what's the front plate. In Europe, they'll call this a square cut, because what happens is you come in 1, 2, 3 bones in, and you come right across. It's pretty much a square. You'll see a lot of people unroll it, and I'll do that in a minute, and then actually roll it up to use it for roasts. It is a little bit, can be a little bit tough. I was in Italy last year, and the butcher that I worked with, he would actually just take straight cuts right across it, really, really thin, right on the grill. And I'm just like, that's a tough muscle. And I ate it, unbelievable. Same thing with the belly. He would take the belly and do the exact same thing. So you go ahead and trace. You actually can get the copa, is right up in the top here. A lot of salami, people, if you're familiar with salami, the copa, it's a single muscle from the top of the animal's leg joint that actually is before the loin itself. Any questions? Anybody?
I have a question about that stuff in the beginning, like the suet and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have like pets? Can they eat that stuff, or is that not?
You know, there was a pet shop that used to buy suet from me, and they would render it out and then reform it for bird feed. So apparently that, but also it's used in cooking too. You know, like Crisco, so it's lard, and it renders really, really nice. You only use the saw here for just going through the chine, and that's it. You don't really need to go any further. It's the first time I picked up the saw. I already have the animal halfway done. You know, again, I mean, this is something that you can do at home. You know, if you really want to experience with it.
I've been eating that pork for like a year.
I'm gonna start to unroll this. This is where the front. This is the front here, the square cut. Someone else had a question as well, I believe. Yeah.
Can you give an idea of the general cost of each of the pets?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to vary. Always going to vary depending on who you're getting it from, what time of year you're getting it from. Right now, beef is actually really good. You know, but in the summertime, something like beef is through the roof because everyone's barbecuing. You know. But yes, generally, you're always going to see the loin and the tenderloin always more expensive. You're going to see something like the belly and more like the belly and the shanks and stuff like that. Belly will be a little bit kind of in between. Shanks and offal. Does everyone know what offal is? Offal is basically any of the awful parts. So it's kidneys, liver, tongue, ears, trotter, and such. You'll find all of that stuff dirt cheap prices. You know, some of it less than $1 a pound. You can get chicken livers for 60 cents a pound.
You see restaurants that because chefs are using them more in restaurants nowadays?
Absolutely. Veal sweetbreads right now, I just tried to buy some last week, and they're like $8, $9 a pound.
Oh.
2 years ago, or 3 years ago when I was in New York, I mean, it's getting it for $5. But yeah, the demand, beef cheeks, out of this world now. You know, it's definitely the supply and demand, but you also got to understand that, you know, they're trying to use the whole animal, so it kind of, you know, it's 6 in one, half dozen the other, and that, you know, you want to be able to harvest the whole animal, but, you know, you can't keep up with the demand of all the cheeks because there's only 2 cheeks on an animal, you know? So all of a sudden, we want to use the whole animal, but now you don't have enough. So it's a tough battle, it really is. And I think that's where, as far as chefs go, it's important, I think, to purchase the whole animal and actually use that on your entire menu. But use it in a way to where you can incorporate each piece. You know, instead of having just like a pork cheek dish, fold the pork cheek into a sauce that is maybe for the loin or something, you know, where actually you can incorporate the entire animal to itself and not only need cheeks because that's your hottest seller.
So incorporating for the cut or for the flavor of it?
Both. Absolutely both. A couple weeks ago, I did milk braised pork cheeks. Unbelievable. If you braise pork, braise it, try it in milk. You guys may think it sounds a little crazy, like it may scald, but if you do it at a low temperature, a little bit of milk, a little bit of aromatics like garlic, thyme, bay leaf, nice low temperature like you would do any braise, it tenderizes it. It's beautiful. It's milky.